Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। राधा गोविंद
भगवान की। Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We are on slok 10.33, Prabhuji.
Yeah, 10.33. Yep.
Okay, we'll get started. Aksharanam karo asmi dvanda samasikasya cha ahamevakshah kalo dhataham vishvato mukha. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creator, I am Brahma.
Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Rama Krishna, is called Dvandva. In this compound, the words Rama and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual.
Mataji?
Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is the representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has 4 heads, is the chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Something I'd like to mention is, as we begin the reading tonight, is that everything that is being presented by Krishna is like the topmost in its own category. So when we see something that is super excellent or very powerful or very supreme in some way, is a representation of the Supreme Lord. And by meditating on this supreme excellence of that item or that personality, then we can remember the Supreme Lord. So all of these verses come in this line to show us that he is the top of everything. So when we see the shark as the greatest aquatic, or the tiger, not the tiger, lion as the most powerful animal, etc., everything that is supremely powerful, supremely super excellent, he is to be remembered at that time. That's why he's talking about his opulences, vibhutis. What are his excellences? So we can find them in nature, around us, in the world of matter, by admiring something that is very, very wonderful, very powerful, or very wise, something that excels everything else. So that is a representation of the Supreme Lord. So to have that in mind before we continue the reading, because that's the principle of why Krishna is expressing all of these verses in chapter 10.
I'm going to ask one question and see who might pick up on this. there's one element mentioned in this verse which Krishna has mentioned before in this chapter, and he mentions again later on, and he mentions in other places in the Gita also. What is that one factor that he mentioned here that he is? That's been mentioned, that I am this, and he's mentioned it before. It's very important.
Supreme.
Beginning of everything.
It begins with a T.
Or a
The
K.
first letter is a T.
Time.
Time,
my man.
Yeah, time. So over and over again, Krishna is coming back to say that he's time. And here it's I am also inexhaustible time, and of course Prabhupada highlights that by saying, among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate, because time kills everything. And I mean, time I am. In the 11th chapter, earlier in this chapter, this idea of kala is the form of Krishna that no one can avoid. The atheist is thinking, I'm avoiding Krishna. But as the time ticks down, the atheist gets to see Krishna in this form. So it's mentioned that this is an opulence of Krishna that everybody experiences. But any other questions or any other thoughts? It's kind of a technical verse mostly here.
That's why it is always mentioned that once he breathes out, things are created. And once he breathes in, then everything is annihilated.
Right.
That's what time means. Creation and destruction, and he controls that the way he breathes in and breathes out.
Everything happens in a breath.
Yes.
And then it's also mentioned by people by great devotees like Srila Prabhupada and others that don't waste time.
Yes.
Because you can't buy it back. You look at an old picture. Recently, we got some pictures sent to us, and you know how people say, "Hey, you look pretty good," you know. But then you look at an old picture, you realize, "Hey, I don't look that good." All right. Any other questions? I guess we can go to the next one, Prabhuji.
मृत्युः सर्वहरक्षाहम् उद्वक्ष्य भविष्यताम् कीर्तिः श्रीर्वाच्य नारीणाम् स्मृतिर्मेघाघृतिः क्षमा. So I'm all devouring death, and I'm the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Mother Prabhu?
As soon as the man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity, every moment. Oops, what did I do?
We can hear you, Prabhu. You can keep reading.
No. I think something got
screen.
on my screen. Something.
Oh.
Okay, just sorry. Yes. Yeah, I came back. Sorry. I think I was trying to put this down. So. Okay, so sorry. So, but the last stroke, as soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. That death is Krishna. As for the future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities.
Deva?
The 7 opulences listed, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience, are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore glorious. If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with a good memory or smriti.
Parag?
And the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence made. Another opulence. The ability to become unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness, dhriti. And when one is fully qualified yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience, shama.
Equanimity, right?
Equanimity. Any questions or thoughts about this verse?
Very philosophical.
Very philosophical. It's pretty strong. I am all devouring death. And that's another strong statement here. And I'm the generating principle of all that is yet to be. This is sort of like you would say samsara right there. And Prabhupada, then he, in the purport, he talks about 6 changes. And this is an important point to remember when we're speaking to other people about the nature of life, and that what is alive, and therefore soul exists in anything, any body that can exhibit these 6 changes. We know that that's a living entity or a jiva soul. We've not yet we've not yet been able to produce any machine that can do this.
What are the 6 changes?
And these 6 changes are that first they're born, then they grow, they maintain their existence for some time, and while they maintain their existence, they reproduce. Try to find a computer that reproduces. They dwindle. Our computers may dwindle, but they're still not reproducing and being reborn. And finally, they vanish. So this is a sign of a living entity. Every living entity has these 6 stages, whether it's a germ or a tree or a dog or a human or a fish. We know the soul is there.
I was going to mention that in Spanish, these qualities, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience that are mentioned in the verse, they're all feminine, because we have masculine and feminine. Everything is masculine or feminine in my language. And all of these qualities here that are among women, I am all these qualities, all of these in my language, they're also feminine.
And in Hindi, are they all feminine? Fame, fortune, fine speech.
Yeah.
They are feminine, all of them?
Yeah, all feminine, I think, yeah.
So therefore, Krishna purifies this. Very important. These are important, and these are important qualities, especially in the end here, where he talks about these qualities of this intelligence, medha, the ability, steadfastness or firmness, which is driti, and shama, which is equanimity. These are really important qualities for developing our spiritual life.
These are many forms of Durga, so yeah, I think they're all feminine.
Yeah. And there are different female demigoddesses, each one of them representing one of these 7. Yes.
Actually, yeah, we were looking that up, and it's not in front of us right now. But yeah, these are different. These qualities. These are all represented by different feminine deities.
I think by default everything good is feminine.
Never to say always, gentlemen, remember that's true.
Of course.
Everything good is feminine.
Yes, that's true. That's a fact.
Move to the next rule.
Sure.
Brihat Sam Tatha Samnam Gayatri Chand Samham Masanam Margashirsho Aham Ritunam Kusumakaraha. So of the hymns in the Sam Ved, I am the Brit Sam, and of poetry I am the Gayatri. Of months I am Margashir, November to December. And of the seasons I am flower bearing spring. Mayu?
It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Samved. The Samved is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is Bhrat Shama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit, there's definite rules that regulate poetry. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically as in much modern poetry.
Savitali?
Amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam because the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord.
Manish Prabhu?
One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature. In order to chant the Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession.
The month of November, December is considered the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time and the people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna.
So, first, any questions or comments about this verse? A lot of things mentioned in it.
I have a question about months. I think Margashir is not Kartik, as I understand, and we all have learned, maybe many of us know, the best month is Kartik, not Margashir. So how to understand this?
I think there's, like in many things in spiritual life, there are lots of bests. And Krishna says that Margashirsha is best in Bhagavad Gita for some particular reason.
Because it's very pleasant.
Because it's pleasant.
It's not cold, it's not hot.
And in fact, I've really noticed that November we have noticed November in Vrindavan is a really nice month for weather. But of course, Kartik, the month of Damodar, is spiritually for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas following the line of Srila Prabhupada, the most important month, because we worship the Supreme Lord in his Damodar Leela, and also it's Radha's month too.
Yeah.
So it's for us the most important month. But Krishna is mentioning this for another reason, because it's a pleasant month and it's a nice time of the year. So there can be, in Krishna's eyes, I guess, many bests. More
Yeah,
than
Prabhuji,
one.
I have read that. So Lord Krishna's month is actually this Margasar, right? And because Radha Rani's month comes just before that. So that's why
Okay.
Kartik month, which is Radha Rani's month, and then the next month comes Lord Krishna's month.
So that makes sense too. Is that Radha's first and then Krishna?
So, yeah.
So that's another way. I mean, I think it's, we have to, sometimes when we read these verses, we have to see them as it's poetry, and Krishna is speaking in a way in which he's glorifying certain wonderful things, and some months get glorified. And I mean, he says spring's the best season, but this is the best month. So, each one he's trying to get us to see him in so many different ways.
So it's good enough to understand that everything created by Krishna is good.
Yeah. Well, later on, he says the gambling of cheats. So some of the things aren't so good, but they're good anyway because he's the origin of these things. But one of the things that we should mention here is Gayatri Mantra, because a lot of people know Gayatri from the first line of the Gayatri, which is the Brahma Gayatri. And I mean, it's very popular. You can go on YouTube and find people singing it. You go to yoga studios, they have it written on the wall. It's very well known, and it's not the same Gayatri mantra that really is being mentioned here, in the sense that Krishna, or in Prabhupada, talks about how this Gayatri mantra is meant for God realization, and this mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. It's what we get when we get what's called Diksha, or sometimes Prabhupada call it second initiation. And we have 7 different prayers in our Gayatri mantra. And each different sampradaya, each different guru line may have different Gayatri prayers. But our particular prayers are meant to help us fix ourselves ultimately at the feet of Radha and Krishna in a relationship in Vrindavan. So they also mentioned Lord Chaitanya and Guru too. So these are very special mantras to help us ultimately realize who we are, what Prabhupada used the term constitutional position. In other words, we're not just a male or female, or a Russian or American or cat dog or whatever designation. We're really eternally in a relationship of service to Krishna, and the Gayatri helps us understand that. Gayatri mantra it says here, is very important in Vedic civilization. It's considered to be the sound by incarnation of Brahman.
That's the first line of the mantra that we chant. Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
Any other questions? Comments? Corrections?
So, Prabhuji, how is Gayatri Mantra situated with respect to Maha Mantra? So, because we also chant Maha Mantra and then we chant.
That's a very important point. You want to say it?
No, yes.
Oh, well, specifically, the Maha Mantra delivers us. I mean, if we chant the Maha Mantra purely, that delivers us pure love of God, and it gives us one will become fully God realized by chanting the Maha Mantra. So that's like that gets us to the spiritual world, so to speak. But the Gayatri Mantra focuses on us on a particular address in the spiritual world. Where do we end up in service to Krishna? In other words, if we're following a guru who is a maidservant of the he's in what we call Madhurya Rasa. He's following Radha and the gopis. Then if one chants a Gayatri mantra given by that guru, one will be directed towards that sort of relationship. And so the Maha Mantra gives us the general purification and spiritual goal, and the Gayatri Mantra gives us the focus.
The specific position.
The specific position.
Yeah. Except that, the 7 mantras that we chant under the heading of Gayatri, the first one is the Brahma Gayatri, which is everybody knows.
Everybody knows it. Yeah.
But the other ones, according to the line you are in, they will be different. Like my husband explained, we have the mantra for Lord Chaitanya, we have mantra for different forms of Krishna, etc. And those are secret. Those cannot be revealed.
But if we were in a Shankarite sect, we might have a Gayatri mantra which included a mantra for Shankaracharya. So so those persons who are following that particular line, they have a different spiritual world you go to, but then there's different addresses there. Like Jesus said, in my Father's home there are many mansions. So the different places people go once they get there.
So the Gayatri mantra we chant normally, right? We all chant Gayatri mantra.
The first line.
That's the first line of the 7 lines that we have.
Oh, okay.
The first one is Brahma Gayatri. That's the first one.
Well known.
Yeah.
And everybody chants that. And that's an open secret.
Yeah. Everybody knows that one.
But the others are guarded secrets. We
Oh,
can't.
really? So it cannot be accessed easily?
What?
They can't be accessed?
Yeah.
The private parts of the Gayatri mantra are only given by the guru to the disciple at the time of initiation.
I see.
It's a private mantra. And it's specifically private in the sense that it pertains just to a certain guru and a certain disciple. And for us, in ISKCON, we share the same Gayatri mantra because we're coming in Prabhupada's line. But somebody in some other group, maybe they're following Ramanujacharya, they'll have a different Gayatri mantra because they have a different line of gurus. But they may be similar, but they may not be the same. But the first line is a line that everybody uses. And it's public.
That's the
It's
only.
also called a Gopal mantra, right, Prabhu?
Gopal mantra is number 6.
Yeah, number 6, and that's
number 6.
that one we don't tell people.
We can't. We just can't. Okay.
Okay.
Yutam chalyatamasmi tejasvi naham jayo asmi vyavsayo asmi sattvam sattvatamaham. So I am also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid I am the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. Rinaji?
There are many kinds of cheaters all over the universe. Of all cheating processes, gambling stands supreme and therefore represents Krishna. As the supreme, Krishna can be more deceitful than any mere man. If Krishna chooses to deceive a person, no one can surpass him in his deceit. His greatness is not simply one-sided, it is all-sided. Among the victorious, he is victory. He is the splendor of the splendid. Among the enterprising and industrious, he is the most enterprising, the most industrious.
We can't hear you, Madai.
Among adventurers, he is the most adventurous, and among the strong, he is the strongest. When Krishna was present on earth, no one could surpass him in strength. Even in his childhood, he lifted Govardhan Hill. No one can surpass him in cheating. No one can surpass him in splendor. No one can surpass him in victory. No one can surpass him in enterprise, and no one can surpass him in strength.
So, you know, I'm thinking that it doesn't sound so great that he's a cheater. Someone might become disturbed by that. But his cheating is absolute, and I can think of one example of his cheating in one incarnation that's very important in our stories about Krishna consciousness. It's in the Bhagwad Gita. Who can tell me a very important story of Krishna cheating? There may be.
He's asking for like 3 steps from Maharaj.
Yeah, there we are.
Yes.
Vamanadev. You know, this is the big problem is that, and it's a very complex story, but to make a long story short, you had Bali Maharaj and the demons had completely taken over the demigods. And they were very powerful. The demigods had no chance of getting their rightful kingdoms back. So I think it was Aditi actually prayed somehow or other, please, you know, can we get the kingdom back, get the demigods back their rightful place. So Vamanadev comes as a little dwarf brahmana and he cheats him because he basically says, I'll take 3 steps of land, and takes 2, covers the universe, and the last one he has to step on Bali's head. So, and there's other places where Krishna is, you know, acts in the, I mean, at the end of the Mahabharata war, Bhima and Duryodhana were having a real fight. And of course, we know that Duryodhana couldn't be killed, practically speaking, because he had a benediction from his mother that he had a body like steel, except between his waist and his knees, because Krishna cheated him by getting him to wear a lungi, and so he wasn't going to, anyway, because his mother was going to look at him and give him this invincibility. So Bhima could not kill Duryodhana. He could hit him all day long with a club on the head and wouldn't do anything. But Krishna was just slapping his thigh over and over again, and Bhima realized, well, that's why I have to hit him, even though that's against the rules. And that's what he did. So in so many ways, Krishna it kind of pushes things along. Sometimes it looks not quite right, but those are parts of how he interacts with his devotees and protects his devotees and puts the demons in their place. So his cheating is good. It's not like the cheating of certain politicians.
Even the demons become blessed and benedicted. In other words, everybody wins. Everybody wins.
Any other thoughts or questions here? He says he's also an adventure. And of course, we just had Govardhan Hill, the puja, where we celebrate his lifting Govardhan with his little finger. Prabhupada in a class, he said, he gave an explanation how Krishna had more mystic power in his little finger than Indra had in his whole heavenly kingdom. Because Indra thought he was so powerful, and he threw everything he could at the residents of Vrindavan. But little Krishna, with the pinky of his left hand, was holding up the hill. So he had more power in his pinky than Indra could muster up with everything he had. Guess we can go to the next one, Gajendraji. Or it's getting close to the end. I don't know if you want to do your bhajan now.
Yeah, I think we can do the bhajan, Prabhuji. So, This week,
Thank you. Tonight, it's been, I think we had a pretty big crowd here tonight. We had 10 for at one time. We still do.
yes. And this week, so next week is Thanksgiving week. We'll still have our Friday session, yeah?
I don't think we're supposed to go anywhere because we're all supposed to stay at home. So let's stay.
Everybody is staying home except Mother Prabhu. Yeah.
So
let's check with everybody else and see, you know, if everybody's going to be around.
We can do it.
Then we can definitely do it.
Yeah. It's an hour on Friday evening, and if we're not all going out of town and the CDC says stay at home, stay safe.
So I can cheat and I can join Zoom from anywhere.
You can go from anywhere.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
You can be anywhere.
There is a reason why your name is Madhav Prabhu.
Cheating game is, we should keep the cheating game going.
So let's do it next week.
Cheating is approved here.
I think it's good to get together and see each other once a week, even if it's only on a little.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do that. And this week is the Swami Prabhupada's disappearance day. So we are going to play some live stuff from one of the temples in India.
Nice. Thank you, Prabhu.
For 8 minutes. So
nice.
Play it for 8 minutes and then we'll stop. Yeah. Right. So Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
To the Lord. Because of his complete surrender and constant engagement in devotional service, a pure devotee's presence can purify a place of pilgrimage. He is self-realized and has a perfect perception of life in the material world, but his consciousness is always spiritual, and therefore he is a pure representative or ambassador of the spiritual world. So, for him, leaving the material world is only a change of destination to carry on his eternal service to the Lord.
So there was Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day this week.
If I may say something, somebody at the temple, one person who was giving class at the temple recently, was talking about how when the devotee who was massaging Srila Prabhupada's feet could feel that there were no hardness or calluses, as if he were not touching the ground, compared to everybody else who has, you know, some hard skin or some problems with the feet. His feet were very soft and very tender and completely free from anything that was hard or anything like that. It was like
lotus feet.
Like the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in his representative, the Srila Prabhupada. And that's a factual thing, because the person who was massaging, the devotee who was massaging his feet, had the personal experience of how his feet, Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, were not of this world.
And actually he said that everybody else who was walking barefoot in India, they developed so many big calluses, but Prabhupada, who was doing the same thing, no calluses.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
And everybody else. Thank you.
Have a great weekend and a great week. We'll see you in a week. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.